defends its final stronghold. The misty mountains of Andalusia are home to the rarest wild cat on Earth, the Iberian lynx. A cat that looks death in the face on a daily basis. But can it cheat death and hang on to survival? It's time to journey into this fragile wilderness to track the lives of these wild lynx in intimate detail. Enemies await at every turn, but the rewards can be great for the supreme hunter. We follow two females living on different sides of the tracks, one in the mountains, the other in the lowland swamps. Two cats with one mission: to escape being caught by extinction's sweeping net. This is the incredible story of Spain's last lynx. Iberian lynx were once a common sight throughout the Iberian Peninsula, but now little more than 100 remain in Spain. Among them, Sierra, mother of 3, patrols the Morena Mountains to the north, while a young female we know as Vari stalks the lowlands of Doñana around the southern coast. Our story begins in the Morena Mountains. The prehistoric-looking forest here is as mysterious as its feline overlords. Serene and peaceful to the human eye it may be, but for the animals that live here, this place is often hard and cruel. Spring arrives, bearing hope on its warm breeze. While flowers bloom, the animals seem to forget their problems for a time. A rocky outcrop is a sun trap for a very special litter of lynx cubs. After 3 weeks underground, they enjoy their first taste of the big world. These 3 kittens are too young to know how harsh the world can be. Their mother will have to be vigilant if her family is to stand a chance. By the law of averages, one of her babies will be dead before it's a year old. We call her Sierra, after her mountain home. She's a devoted mother and spends much of each day searching for food. A lynx can occupy a territory as big as 20 square kilometers, depending on the abundance of prey. Sierra's range is high up in the hills that locals call the Black Mountains, due to the once impenetrable forests that covered this area. It's time to hunt. Skilled in the art of stealth, Sierra works on setting an ambush. But she must stay aware. Other predators, just as hungry as she is, are also on the prowl. With their strength in numbers, the wolves are serious competition. This group prepares for a hunt with a call to arms. The wolves can cause havoc for Sierra, disturbing prey as they fan out noisily through the forest. The mouflon sheep panic and bolt for cover. The wolves look on, but unusually don't give chase. The sheep stop, perhaps assuming that they haven't been followed. But, solitary and silent, Sierra is about to make her move. With their focus on the wolves, the sheep are unaware as she glides in, barely making a sound with her large padded feet. Forward-facing eyes and rotating ears enable her to lock in on the target, a young sheep that has been separated from its flock. She's close enough to smell it, but patience is her virtue. Suddenly, she assesses that the time is right to move in for the kill. And she strikes. A large mouflon is a rare prize. Rabbits make up most of the lynx's diet. This kill will feed her family for several days. But her victory may be short-lived. There's always someone else looking for an easy meal. The wolves are closing in, so she eats quickly, hoping to bulk feed in case her prey is snatched away. Sierra is now torn by conflicting instincts. Every meal counts for her young family, but an encounter with the wolves could prove fatal. Caution wins, and she forfeits the trophy, slinking back into the safety of the shadows. A close call. She'll have to watch her step. In Andalusia, there's danger at every turn. Sierra's cubs play at honing the skills they'll need to hunt in later life. Their mother will fend for them for 7 to 10 months. After that, they'll have to go it alone. The games are halted by the arrival of heavy rain. Sierra will wait with them for better hunting weather. These cubs have been born in troubled times. In the last few decades, the Iberian lynx has suffered an 80% reduction in its range. They used to be valuable hunting trophies, but thankfully, an agreement not to shoot the lynx has been reached. But it could be too little, too late. If things do not improve, the sun could set forever on the lynx, and in as little as 20 years, they could be extinct. The rain did some good. It prevented the smell of the dead mouflon from drifting very far, and the carcass is still where Sierra left it. Under cover of darkness, she risks going back. So far, only an eagle owl has noticed the lynx return. But more interruption is on its way. In behavior sometimes seen in other cats, Sierra tries to hide the remnants of the carcass. She carefully scrapes up grass in an attempt to disguise the body. The observant owl is the first to spot the intruders. The wolves that spooked Sierra earlier have finally been drawn in by the damp smell of the mouflon carcass. For the second time today, she must abandon her kill. As a day dawns over the Sierra Morena, the riverside plays host to the battles of others. The sharp eyes of a diminutive wildcat have spotted the bright flashes of some azure-winged magpies. Similar to a domestic cat in appearance, the wildcat shares the feline hunting strategies of the lynx. Silent, highly agile, and able to use their surroundings to maximum advantage. But despite being built for the kill, studies show that only 1 in 10 hunts is successful. That's a lot of effort for little reward. The magpies are fine-tuned to spot the advances of a predator, and they break for cover. In their hilltop retreat, Sierra's cubs have been left alone all night, and she must return and suckle them. At no more than half Sierra's size, the wildcat slips quickly out of her path. It's best to avoid confrontation and conserve energy. Weighing up to 12.5 kilograms, and with a wingspan of nearly 3 meters, the massive cinereous or black vulture surveys the action below. This is one of Europe's largest birds. On colossal wings, they glide vast distances in search of food. Timing is critical for this family. The gawky chick hasn't eaten for days. The parent hasn't eaten either, and the best it can do is to offer its baby some shade from the blazing sun. Its partner circles overhead. To better its chances of success, it soars higher, exploiting thermals deflected off the hills. Vultures have acute eyesight and are able to spot prey from great distances. Both adults hunt to feed their chick. Over the year, they need to find some 600 kilograms of food. It's a big investment, but this intense parental care maximizes the chick's chances of surviving to maturity. Just like the lynx, black vultures are an icon of the Spanish mountains, but worldwide their populations are also in decline. The vulture flies south to try its luck in the lowlands. These are the wetlands of Doñana, a lush lowland of swamps and plains. Here the animals face a whole new set of challenges. This is Vari, and this is her patch. Adapted to this grassy environment, her coat has larger spots than that of her mountain cousin. Her camouflage allows her to get close undetected and even try hunting unusual prey like this red-legged partridge. Just like Sierra, Vari relies on a high-speed strategy. She must get within critical strike zone. Close, but the partridge wins this round. By rights, Vari should be hunting rabbits, not birds. But today, rabbits are not so plentiful. In the 1950s, a French doctor infected rabbits with a disease in an attempt to protect his vegetable patch. That disease was myxomatosis, and the rest is history. An epidemic swept across Europe, destroying up to 99% of rabbit populations in certain areas. But it turned out to be disastrous for predator as well as prey. After an initial glut of sick rabbits to eat, the lack of repopulation meant that prey numbers declined dramatically. But now, hope is on the horizon. In an attempt to redress the balance and help the last of the lynx to recover, scientists are working to restore the food chain by bringing back the rabbits. Rabbit and lynx share a dynamic bonded by evolution into a perfect predator-prey relationship. By boosting prey numbers, scientists hope the lynx population will follow suit. Ancient Romans knew Spain as the land of rabbits, and they spread the species throughout their empire. Rabbits are tough little creatures, and against the odds, there are still some wild rabbits here. Now, with the reintroduction project boosting their numbers, the population is quickly growing. They can provide over 90% of the lynx's diet. The success of the rabbit will dictate the future of Spain's last lynx. For their first 3 weeks, rabbit kittens stay safe and warm in their fur-lined den. But it won't be long before these youngsters will meet their arch-enemy head-on. Researchers are in a race against time to understanding the habits of the few remaining wild lynx. Knowing how they live is central to ensuring their survival. But to really be able to know a lynx, they must first catch it. A pigeon is a temptation that's just too good to resist. The lynx won't be harmed in the trap. The researchers approach behind a rug to reduce stress to the animal. After sedation, a radio collar is fitted. This is the most reliable method for gathering the vital information they need about the cat's range and its interaction with other lynxes. The young lynx soon recovers from being captured. It leads the researchers into the dense scrub. It's clearly unperturbed by the radio collar. Elsewhere, other methods are being used to unravel the secrets of the elusive lynx. This young female has found an irresistible lure, a cork covered in lynx urine. She's yet to realize that she's walking into a trap of a different kind. She's caught on camera before sloping off into the night. This method of research gives up-close and personal information without disturbing the animals. It has yielded some spectacular results. This team of biologists has created family trees, identifying individuals by the patterns on the lynx's fur. The photos tell a tragic story, though. In this area, barely 50 Iberian lynx remain. Vari is one lynx to benefit from the scientists' work. Her territory lies in the heart of the rabbit reintroduction program. She stalks this new land of plenty. Rabbits must watch their back. It's hoped the agile hunters will follow them in making a comeback. With her perfect rabbit-catching design, the outcome is assured. Drag marks in the sand tell of a rabbit's demise. As an adult, Vari needs the equivalent of a rabbit a day to stay fit and healthy. 1,000 calories of goodness in one helping. It's a welcome boost, but she can't afford to drop her guard. Tough times lie ahead. Food doesn't come easy for the creatures of Andalusia. It pays to watch your neighbors. Some animals have learned to read the signs, maximizing the chances of survival. High in the Sierra Morena, vultures spy on one another. One bird dropping from the sky acts as a beacon, drawing others to cash in on the discovery. The The hungry vulture chick's parent is the first to spot the remains of a carcass, but competition is close behind. It attempts to shield its prize from hungry eyes. This harsh environment sees 5 giant birds muscle in for a pitiful reward. With a precious chick waiting at home, it's worth fighting for the meager remains. The parent got a few mouthfuls before the hordes descended, but finally the rabble drives it off. It takes what it can for its chick. A hero's return awaits from its lifelong mate. Parenthood is 8 months of hard graft. Doting parents express delivering meat for their growing baby. Their single chick is a huge investment, but parental dedication will increase its chances in the big wide world. If all goes well, their ungainly bundle of joy could be soaring over the mountains for the next 25 years. A break in the scrub affords a rare glimpse of lynx family life. Vari has been concealing a single cub born several months before. Soon she'll lead it through her territory in preparation for its adult life. Naturally inquisitive, the playful cub wants to investigate everything. Vari can't afford to drop her guard. Although her litter is small, even the survival of her lone baby is far from assured. Cubs learn many survival skills from playing with their siblings. Being an only child, this cub's education lies entirely with Vari. For up to 11 months, the cub will shadow his mother. Then he'll have a sort of soft release, living alone for a few months within his mother's familiar territory, before finally going out to search for a patch of his own. Surrounded by human development, the lynxes of Doñana have become a stranded gene pool, isolated from the other remaining Iberian lynx. Their diverse range is crisscrossed by streams, feeding a wealth of wildlife. Vari's large mobile ears pick up the tiny sounds of a dormouse, but the rodent is also on full alert. The hunt is on. Success at last, but the effort taken will barely match the energy provided. A watering hole makes a perfect ambush as animals descend at night to drink. This is Uda, another of the research team's study animals. Ducks have poor sight in the dark, but they sense her presence. But Uda is well fed, and like other animals, has come here to quench her thirst. Being distracted by drink can bring close encounters. Tonight, attack is the best form of defense. The deer has a fawn nearby and boldly approaches the lynx to remove any threat to her infant. Uda's slaked her thirst anyway and moves on, not wanting to risk a blow from the hind's powerful feet. But she catches a scent in the air. Another lynx is nearby. To avoid confrontation with an aggressive neighbor, she slinks off into the darkness. The alert red fox is right to be wary. Besides competing with them for food, lynxes sometimes prey on foxes. Even when drinking, it can't afford to let its guard down. The stranger in the shadows turns out to be Vari. She's not after water this time. The thick cover around the waterhole is perfect for concealing a hunting predator. Lynx know of a seasonal available treat. Every summer, ducks are grounded. Annually, they shed their wing feathers. While molting, they can't fly and are in grave danger of attack. A trail of feathers betrays their location. Running deeper into the grasses, they play right into Vari's trap. In wetter areas where rabbits are scarce, a well-fed duck makes the perfect reward. Elsewhere in Andalusia, other hunters are using their finely honed skills in the night air. Navarro is one of the few dominant males left. The huge tom patrols a large range, monitoring the neighborhood females and keeping other males at bay. Navarro is the model male, formidable in size and an accomplished hunter. Once he's dined on the choicest cuts, the mysterious feline slinks silently back into the darkness. The mornings in Doñana are met by a wealth of wildlife. Grey-lag geese fly in for breakfast to search the rich marshland areas. The grass shoots they eat are so low in nourishment, they must spend most of their waking day eating. They're not the only ones warming up for the day. Primordial sounds come through the damp morning air. The spotted fallow deer gather for their annual rut. This species originated east of the Mediterranean, but it's thought that the Romans introduced them to Europe. Hormone-fueled bucks mark the rut with ritualized fights. There are uninvited spectators. Lynx concentrate on rabbit prey, but are capable of taking larger targets. Distractions make the deer particularly vulnerable. The herd's sentinels spot her and alert the group. Vari sharpens her claws for the next try. The coastal terrain of Doñana offers an unusual mix of environments. Lynx can seek prey in open rolling sand dunes or densely packed woodland. Relentless human encroachment tightens the noose around lynx territories. Oases of wilderness offer a final safe haven. But conflicts seem inevitable, and there can only be one victor. Their ranges are now crisscrossed with roads and fences. Sierra is still on the hunt for food. A cluster of rocks offer the hope of a good hunt, as long as others don't give the game away. It's a question of persistence. Hunting in the rocks will test her reactions and agility. She must work harder, as she can't force the rabbit into open ground. Now she needs somewhere private to eat her reward and turn it to milk for her all-important family. The black vulture is still dependent on his parents for food and water. Their never-ending regime of supply and demand continues. They spend increasing amounts of time away from the nest in a bid to encourage its independence. A daily exercise routine helps strengthen massive chest muscles that'll power its huge wings, ready for the day that they will carry it on thermals high above the plains. Mom and Dad swap guard duty, eagerly watched by their inquisitive chick. Soon it'll join them in the air, staking a claim in the crags and slopes, fighting for a place and a carcass. The lowlands of Doñana aren't the only stage for a deer rut. Imposing red deer stags wander through the lower reaches of the Sierra Morena to compete for females. They announce themselves to all around, drawing other males to the battlefield. Females, too, are in high spirits. They watch on, performing their own hierarchy rituals to ensure access to the best resources. Posturing, face-pulling and boxing break out amongst the ranks. This is the perfect time for a stealthy hunter's ambush. As the normally alert deer let their guard slip, hungry mouths rush in. Although they'll work together in the kill, they're more reluctant to share the spoils. A strict pecking order has to be respected and is reinforced with bared teeth. Being active in the kill doesn't earn any special favors at the dining table. Lower-ranking animals must wait their turn. The downside of family life is that it takes a lot of food to feed so many mouths. The pack will soon have to hunt again. It's a sad but familiar commentary. The year is drawing to a close, and already Sierra's litter has been reduced to a single cub. What he lacks in skill, he makes up for in enthusiasm and willingness to learn. To make it to adulthood, he must hone his talents quickly. He must keep up the schooling and rely on his mother's dedication just a little longer. It's a critical time, readying him for the impending life alone. Sierra's a careful mother, but the lure of rich feeding grounds could spell disaster. The fences mark a dangerous death zone for the protected lynx. Tragedy strikes, despite his mother's care. The last of Sierra's cubs falls foul of the roads. Iberian lynx are protected by law, but that doesn't protect them from accidental encounters from human populations. Even away from the roads, illegal killing goes on. Indiscriminate leg traps are devastating to many animals, claiming the lives of many lynx each year. A few survivors are rescued from the traps, but with leg bones shattered and paws lost, they're destined to a life behind bars. An adult lynx, stopped in his prime, a life of agile hunting and secretive stalking is over. A disaster that could have easily been avoided. Navarro, at least, brings hope. His large territory is patrolled constantly as he searches for females. When he finds one in season, he spends days serenading the potential mate. Females play hard to get, testing his patience before conceding. After days of tracking, his efforts are rewarded. Rarely seen behavior is played out under the stars. This brief encounter, and others like it, holds the fate of the species. As Andalusia greets another day, the future of the lynx is hopeful, but decidedly uncertain. Even with modern technologies, the elusive lynx is a challenge to find, an enigma whose secrets remain hidden in the hills. More work is needed to prevent lynx like Sierra and Vari from disappearing altogether, to stop the majestic Iberian lynx slipping off the face of the earth forever. Today, Sierra still wanders the hills of the Sierra Morena, but has not yet remated after losing her cub to the roads. Vari continues to hunt the lowlands of Doñana, but has been struck by tragedy. Her cub was never seen again. The Andalusian government is pushing forward to safeguard the remaining lynx. Helped by the state administration and with the aid of the specialist European Union program LIFE, there is a chance for the lynx legacy. 2 months after Navarro's midnight mating, there is fresh hope. 3 new faces bounce out onto the rocks. Hope for the rarest cat in the world, a dramatic European predator. Now humans must protect the last of their kind, Spain's last lynx.
Chololo has taken the measure of his opponent and found him wanting. Other confrontations await, some with enemies more implacable, enemies less inclined to run.
Beating back the territorial advances of an aggressive neighbor is one thing. Learning to live with hyenas is another. It can be a hard lesson for a young leopard to learn.
Tonight, school will be in session. It's time to hunt. And when Chololo sets off, a hyena will follow.
Hyenas know what efficient killing machines leopards are. They also know if they can get to the kill before the cat trees it, they can usually take over.
Chololo has killed well, but judged badly. The dead kudu is too heavy to haul off, and a powerful adversary lurks nearby. At the sight of a hyena, leopards often turn tail. Not Chololo. They struggle. They feed. They struggle some more. Both animals are on edge. The commotion could attract unwanted attention. And when another hyena arrives, the scales are tipped against Chololo. Tonight's lesson is all about hyenas, and it's a hard lesson indeed. Even a minor bite from one of these brutes could prove fatal to Chololo. The hyenas are out in force, but they are not alone. Besides hyenas, Chololo fears one other creature. The hyenas soon realize the lioness is alone, a situation they know exactly how to handle. The lioness is soon put to flight. Even a lion can't fend off a pack of hyenas. Chololo was wise to play it safe.
I really felt for Chololo that night. He gave it his best shot and lost out. But that's how a leopard learns. As for the hyenas, the kudu carcass was gone within the hour.
His dignity intact, but his stomach still empty, Chololo moves on, eventually catching a whiff of something that might make a meal. A rock python. It matters little that the python isn't venomous. Leopards instinctively know to be wary of snakes. Hunger and curiosity drive Chololo to press his luck. until reason prevails. Nearby, a female is chuffling, an anxious sound that tells Chololo she knows he's in the neighborhood.
She was putting up a real yowl, a mix between a meow and a growl, which sets your neck hairs on end. At first, all I could hear was a couple of cats in the bush. When the female came down, she'd spotted Chololo and was trying desperately hard to distract him. She left her perch, trying to lead him away. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what was worrying her.
She watches as Chololo uncovers her secret. A dead cub, no doubt hers.
There have been reports of female leopards eating their dead cubs, and adult males may kill cubs they didn't sire. But this cub had been dead for some time, and it looked as if the female had been feeding on it. We don't know what killed this cub, but it definitely wasn't Chololo.
But for Kim, there's even a bigger surprise.
Then it dawned on me, this was Beauty. The female I'd filmed years before. She'd been a good mother back then, and probably still was. But obviously things don't always work out.
For every leopard cub that doesn't survive the first 6 months of life in Mala Mala, it seems there are several hyena cubs that do. These youngsters must scramble to stay alive too, but hyena families den together, providing the added safety of numbers. At least 3 groups, called clans, live in Chololo's territory. Maybe 35 hyenas in total. Like close-knit extended families, hyena clans hunt, feed, and socialize together. Their young stick close to the den for the first year. But if there is one lesson all hyena cubs learn in this part of Mala Mala, it is to keep their eyes on Chololo. Chololo's learning fast, too. It's clear now, if he's to keep what he catches, he'll have to move fast enough to stay ahead of the competition. This time, he judged well. Anxious to cache his prey beyond the reach of hyenas and tree-climbing lions, Chololo goes out on a limb and learns another lesson. Another hard-earned meal is lost. Day breaks over the Sand River. Even in the dry season, it attracts all manner of animals, including Cape buffalo.
The water is a big draw for animals, providing plenty of opportunity for predators. Rivers can also serve as natural boundaries for leopards. The Sand River wraps halfway around Chololo's territory, so he patrols here regularly.
Chololo's appearance seems to unsettle the buffalo. But he's not the only hunter around. The equation can be simple. In Mala Mala, where you find water, you often find lions. They know the routine well. Sooner or later, everyone stops by for a drink. It's only a matter of waiting for the right moment to strike. Amid the huge buffalo bodies, a newborn greets the world. During calving season, buffalo and antelope are especially watchful. Their calves are extremely vulnerable. The lions have the herd squarely in their sights. There's still daylight left, though, and the big cats like to work in the dark. But the buffalo aren't sticking around for that. Fear ripples through the herd, and they flee, hooves making muddy thunder. Soon, real thunder engulfs Mala Mala. Amid the gusts and lightning strikes, Chololo has made a kill. But still, he's edgy. The rolling thunder that kept the antelope from hearing his charge could easily conceal the approach of hyenas. But by the time one appears, Chololo has already made his move. The explosive weather spooks the buffalo. Some panic, others mill about confused. But there is no escaping the frightful storm or the predators. The lions have downed a bull, but it may take their stubborn victim half an hour to die. His cries will not be muffled, even on such a noisy night as this. As the lions labor to complete their grisly task, another drama plays out nearby. A hyena has chanced upon an opportunity. Chololo, trying to stash a kill, hit a snag. Now he faces a struggle if he's to hang on to his meal. Chololo can tree a 200-pound carcass in a flash, but pound for pound, hyenas own the most powerful jaws in Mala Mala. Nothing short of an earthquake is likely to make her let go. Then, as the stubborn two settle in for a long tug of war, another familiar face arrives. His enemy's enemy could be Chololo's friend, at least for now. Chololo seizes the moment, dragging his kill higher. The lioness pauses briefly, as if to think things out. Then, seconds later, she makes her move. In Mala Mala, survival is often a game of inches. And this time, Chololo measured things just right. Too big and heavy to climb higher, the lioness has been checked. Chololo's prize is barely a foot from her nose, but that's enough to put it out of reach. If she falls, she will almost certainly be injured. And as any good climber will tell you, the trip down can be tougher than the ascent. Finally, a meal in peace. Thunderstorms may be brief here, but they often presage long rainy spells. The downpour seems to dampen animal spirits.
This year the rains have been really bad. Plenty of storms with massive floods, the most we've seen in living memory, and twice as much as the highest ever recorded.
Only days ago, the Sand River was a trickle. Now, it's a raging torrent, only fit to watch at a safe distance. The bold pachyderm tests the current. As Kim watches, the elephant gets a devastating lesson in water power.
It surprised me to see this elephant bull in serious trouble. These guys usually have the wit to stay out of bad situations, but the current was way too much for him.
If he's lucky, he'll regain his footing somewhere downstream. As soon as the sky clears and the flood ebbs, hunters regain their rhythms. After the deluge, Chololo emerges with a new attitude. He seems to know now how to play the game.
Chololo seemed to move to the next level of maturity. He came through the flood with a better hunting technique and more confidence. You could tell he knew he had established himself as the dominant male in the area.
At dawn, Mala Mala is a raucous symphony of animal calls. But this morning, the decibel level seems to be rising fast. A female leopard and her cub take notice of the uproar. And as more voices join the chorus, the cub heads for cover. The reason for the ruckus and the cub's flight? Chololo. If a male leopard meets a cub he didn't sire, he could harm the little one. The female decides she needs better cover. She monitors the situation constantly, taking care to stay hidden from view. Chololo may not notice every animal he passes, but every animal seems to notice him. When the danger has passed, mother and cub find each other by call and response, and gradually their anxiety subsides. It's early summer, fawning season for the impala. Mothers leave the relative safety of the herd to be alone at the big moment. It's a risky step, since predators know nature's calendar all too well. Though on their feet in minutes, newborn impala have few defenses, but they do have a single invisible advantage. Nature sends them into the world scentless. It will take this youngster days to develop the fragrance so welcome to hunters. Chololo can sense opportunity, and he's not alone. Every predator out here knows there's young game afoot. But who will find it first?
The lack of sense is a great thing for the fawns. Combined with their ability to lie still in tall grass, it keeps many of them alive. But the predators seldom give up.
Searching for mother's milk, a fawn breaks the spell. Their reunion draws the attention of a hyena. Hyenas have the stamina to chase prey until it drops, provided they can keep their target in sight. Something has galvanized the herd, and the predators sense it. The hyena tracks the herd. But Chololo takes a different angle. It's a lone female. Perhaps there's a fawn to be found. Sensing Chololo's on to something, the hyena heads his way. But Chololo's nose keeps him one step ahead, leading him on, until he runs into Beauty with a kill. To protect her meal, Beauty goes aloft. The hyena lingers, unwilling to concede defeat. That is, until Chololo has had enough of his presence. After Beauty has cashed her kill, Chololo follows her into the bush. She may be ready to mate.
What's surprising about Chololo is that he'll go far out of his way to track down a female and then ignore her, even when she's thrashing around right in front of him. This can go on for days. Maybe he can sense when the time's not right to mate yet.
In fact, neither leopard is quite ready to expend the energy needed for mating. Chololo sets off on his solitary path, leaving Beauty to lull. All too soon, he reacquires his standard accompaniment. After a while, tired of the hyena's hectoring, he settles down for a rest. Across Africa, bushfires shape the ecology. In Malamala, blazes like these help maintain the balance between grassland and shrub that produces this perfect leopard habitat.
The amazing thing about this scene is the absolute lack of concern among the animals for the fire. I'd always been told that if you want to keep animals away, you make a fire. And that's true. If there's a big roaring blaze headed for the animals, they'll go into a frenzy. But if the fire's just burning along, it becomes part of the landscape, and no one much cares about it.
A series of moist summers has left the bush very dense. Dead grass has built up, premium tinder, primed to burn fiercely. Conflagrations like this can last for weeks, flaring when daytime winds fan the embers and fading at night.
For leopards like Chilolo, a fire is an inconvenience. It burns away his scent marks, so he has to patrol that much harder. On the other hand, with the cover burned away and the dry leaflets are gone, he can find and hunt down his prey more easily.
As he calmly patrols this hellish landscape, Chololo has heat of a different sort in mind. He's about to achieve another stripe of adulthood. Mating time has come.
Once they get going, they'll be at it for 4, 5, even 6 days. Chilolo keeps moving through his territory, and the female follows him, even when they leave her territory.
The entire region is their honeymoon suite. They'll mate, wander, mate again, oblivious to the changing scene. Beauty and Chololo dally near an impala herd, but they're not interested in hunting. Their mating cries unnerve the antelope. When the herd can contain the tension no more, impala scatter every which way. Some run so close to Beauty and Chololo, they trigger the predatory instinct. By chance, the two latch onto the same luckless impala.
I'd never seen this sort of collaboration before. Normally he'd chase her off, but maybe he's more tolerant because they're mating.
But as quickly as Chololo and Beauty collaborated, they're competing again. In a show of strength, he overpowers his consort. The next day, as their mating marathon nears its end, Chololo begins to pull away from beauty. He's drawn back into the isolated existence he usually leads. Even ensuring the survival of the species doesn't exempt him from the work required to preserve his place as the main leopard in this corner of Mala Mala. Though singed and smoky, Chololo's world remains vibrant, and he sets about reminding its inhabitants who's boss. It seems a neighboring male was all set to annex a portion of Chololo's turf, but that plan was hatched with Chololo away. Now he's back.
At the point where two leopards' territories meet, there's a sort of fixed line, and then there are these overlapping zones that both cats wander in and out of. They probe and test constantly, trying to see how far they can push things, until the other guy says, back off.
One thing is clear. This is Chololo's territory, and none of it will be ceded without a fight. With a full moon rising over Mala Mala, life goes on in all its murderous splendor. The killing takes place at a killing pace, with Chololo in the thick of it. Now, when he brings down an impala, and hyenas make off with the kill, he doesn't give up. Instead, he takes advantage of the herd's confusion and attacks again, immediately. This is a master at work, sleek, confident, bringing all his skills to bear. He's absorbed the lessons of experience and put them to good use. If good fortune continues to wash over Chololo, he'll travel his range for years, perfecting his strategy and tactics, and siring many cubs.
I came here to get inside Chololo's world and to document that mysterious place. It took us 18 months, often under extreme conditions, to develop the bond that allowed us to get the intimate details of his life on film. And the fact that he succeeded meant we succeeded.
Perhaps some of Chololo's offspring will follow in his footsteps, for better and for worse. But as long as Chololo can strut the strut and growl the growl, this stretch of Mala Mala is his. The price for this rich life is constant dedication and unyielding vigilance. For Chololo, the only way to walk is proudly and alone.
Yet the commercialism is mixed with an ancient respect for the cycles of nature. When the harvest ends, the nets walling the enclosure are opened, permitting the herring to escape, in the hope they will return and spawn again next spring. Though killer whales nibble at the spawning schools, herring make up less than 5% of their diet. They are awaiting a spawning event still to come that will bring their favorite prey into these waters. Yet as the killer whales mark time, the greatest exploitation of the herring is about to begin. It dwarfs the hunting by ocean animals and the harvesting by natives. In Vancouver Island harbors, commercial fishing boats await the start of a different kind of herring frenzy.
Attention Gulf of Georgia herring seine fleet. This is the Fisheries Patrol Vessel Chilco Post. The herring seine fishery will commence immediately. Only licensed fishermen...
The opening of the herring season is the beginning of an ocean gold rush. To prevent overfishing, authorities stringently limit the commercial herring season, often to only a single day each year. Sometimes to only 1 hour. 1 hour in which many fishermen must haul in most of their fishing income for the entire year. So valuable is the fishery that luck can bring boat owners a near fortune in a day, and failure can mean bankruptcy. It's a high-stakes drama in which not a second can be lost. After racing to find a school using sonar, they must quickly encircle it with a seine net. Then draw the net tight, often catching more than herring. Making money on herring requires spending it. A seiner and its complement of equipment can cost $1.5 million. But depending on luck and skill, in their brief window of opportunity, they may pull in anywhere from 20 to 200 tons of herring. The only market is Japan, and prices fluctuate with the Japanese economy. There have been years when a catch of a single boat brought in $250,000. unintended catch of large mammals can mean damaged nets and panicked animals. The fishermen give the sea lions every opportunity to escape. And one by one, they all do. Herring return to the same waters each year to spawn. If too many are caught, those waters will be barren in future years. Already, some areas no longer support a fishery, and there are debates over whether the herring population is being jeopardized by too much fishing. So intense is the rush to haul in fish. Captains can imperil both their boats and crews by overloading. Even large vessels can be overturned by 200 tons of fish in their net. The catch of herring for their eggs is one of the main drivers of British Columbia's fishing economy. But unlike the harvests by marine animals and native tribes, no herring survive to return to the sea. The eggs will be taken from dead females for sale to Japan. The tons of remaining herring carcasses will be sold not as human food, but for the most part as fertilizer. As spring turns to summer, the flood of life awaited by the killer whales approaches from the open sea. Salmon by the millions in wave after wave. The killer whales residing along this coast prefer salmon above all other foods. To catch them, pod members spread out and comb the area. They send out sonar-like high-frequency clicks that echo off objects in the sea, giving them an acoustic means of detecting their prey through murky waters. Through summer and into fall, those salmon that survive seek out their natal streams and begin a difficult journey against currents and rapids. Having survived killer whales, they now meet a terrestrial equivalent. But survival is not their purpose. After spawning, all the salmon will die. Adult grizzlies and their cubs shun the dead fish in search of those still alive. In the meantime, they snack on the salmon eggs littering the bottom. When more salmon arrive, the bears feast relentlessly. Grizzlies face a deadline as fall approaches. To survive the long sleep of winter, they must pack on as much fat as possible. Some gain 300 pounds or more, most of the weight coming from long days of eating salmon. It can be both filling and exhausting. For John Ford, salmon season provides an opportunity to learn more about killer whale feeding techniques and preferences. An experienced eye sees a capture in a quick lunge. Time has shown that the killer whales hunt all 6 of the salmon species found here.
It looked to me like a chum, about the right size. And it was quite a prolonged chase there, huh? We saw him take a chum salmon, very likely. There's a big run of chum salmon coming through the strait today, and we managed to get a scale sample from that kill. Oh, that's a bit of silver, yeah. Sometimes you get little bits of it detected. And we'll be able to identify what species it is from the unique quality of the scale.
As if from nowhere, a pack of white-sided dolphins appears, interrupting the killer whale hunt. The dolphins rocket about, bothering the whales, like a gang of rowdy youngsters. It's an odd mingling of 2 marine mammals, but Ford sees it often.
Those dolphins like to pester the whales. And we see them doing it to humpback whales as well, where they will chase them around and smack them with their tails and just generally be kind of pesky for whatever reason.
Suddenly and inexplicably, the dolphin pack disappears. Other sea mammals in the vicinity seem to be on alert, as if some kind of menace approaches. The menace is real. A pack of aggressive killer whales passes through, driving harbor seals ashore. More nomadic than the resident whales of the region and traveling in smaller families, these transients also prefer the meat of sea lions and dolphins to fish. Distinguished by tall, pointed dorsal fins, these mammal eaters don't seem to mingle with their fish-eating cousins. Evidence of the often violent ways of transients can be graphic. Biologist Kathy Heisey examines the body of a dead dolphin found at sea by a boater. Like the pack that interrupted the hunt, it's a white-sided dolphin.
I can tell you for certain that it was killed by a killer whale, just judging by the teeth rake marks on its body. And whether it was killed by transient killer whales or resident killer whales, I can't tell you, but my guess is it's transients, because those are the only ones that we've seen fatally attacking animals. And what's surprising to me is that they didn't eat it, because they obviously injured it and perhaps played with it even for a while after they killed it, just judging by the different types of rake marks that are on its body. They're all at different angles and they're all quite deep.
Until the early 1970s, the realm of killer whales in British Columbia lay mostly beyond the interests of humanity. But the curiosity of scientists and filmmakers has since fueled a popular fascination with these intelligent creatures. People come from around the world hoping to catch a glimpse of wild orcas. Identification catalogs enable them to learn the name and family history of the creatures they watch. Some learn for the first time that the swimmers before them are traveling families whose social relationships are among the most complex of any mammals on Earth. A family like this is led by a mother, and all of her young will remain with her as long as she lives. Approaching the boat is not just a juvenile whale, but someone's daughter, sister, granddaughter.
That's amazing! Oh my God! Oh my God!
But no matter how close observers get, they see only that tiny fraction of a killer whale's existence that takes place in our world of air. Pitcairn and his friends have devised a plan to peer, at least briefly, into the hidden part of killer whale existence by going where other visitors cannot.
In these undisturbed waters, we come upon a family bound somewhere through the morning mist and cold. For a moment, they don't seem like mighty predators. Just a family on a lonely journey.
Pitcairn's destination appears unremarkable. A beach covered by a bed of smooth pebbles that extends out into the shallows. But in fact, it's a special place where killer whales may let down their guard. In hopes of capturing a few moments of killer whale behavior here, the team arrives with an arsenal of equipment.
Yeah, right.
Pitcairn and his team have secured special permission to film in this ecological reserve, a whale sanctuary off limits to whale watchers. To avoid disturbing the whales, no diver will enter the water, only a remotely controlled camera. The underwater cameraman must learn to practice his craft sitting on dry land before a miniature steering wheel.
There's your orca.
The team will set up camp, then wait to see if any whales show up. As they prepare, killer whale sounds arise just offshore, an auspicious sign. They toss a hydrofoam into the water. Pitcairn's worry is that the effort will turn out to be a waste of time. This is his second attempt. The previous year, the team waited 3 weeks and no whales ever showed up. Every precaution has been taken to avoid disrupting killer whale behavior. But there is no way to know if the wary animals will shy away, even from an untended camera. The wait begins. On only the second day, they sight a killer whale family rounding the point, headed toward them. The underwater microphones pick up the raspy sound of a whale scraping against the bottom. The area is called a rubbing beach because killer whales frequently seek it out to rub their bodies against the bed of pebbles. no one is sure why. Their markings show them to be a family well known to scientists in the area. A 52-year-old matriarch named Stripe, her 3 children, and a grandson. The tallest fin belongs to her 28-year-old son, Okisolo, the most enthusiastic among them when it comes to rubbing. Her 18-year-old daughter, Ripple, has a 2-year-old son of her own, Midsummer, who seems reluctant to rub, but follows his mother when she makes a pass across the bottom. Children at play. Adults enjoying a relaxing swim. It seems the undersea equivalent of a family day at the beach. Though Stripe also rubs occasionally, the matriarch stays close to her grandson and youngest son, 7-year-old Fife. Stripe knows how quickly tragedy can strike. Over the years, she has lost 3 of her young. One captured for a marine park, one struck by a ferry, one to unknown causes. Little Midsummer continues to frolic off the beach, but he won't dare descend to rub the bottom. His uncle, on the other hand, can't get enough. An adult male like Okisolo may have fathered young of his own, but they remain with their mothers in other family groups. Okisolo will not leave his own mother all of her life. Some males simply disappear when their mother dies. No killer whales in the world, other than the 200 living around northern Vancouver Island, are known to rub like this.
We are as puzzled as other observers. Why do they rub? Some believe it's a way of scraping away parasites. But if so, wouldn't killer whales elsewhere do the same thing? Perhaps we try too hard to find practical explanations for behavior in the wild. Maybe the killer whale families here have simply found a way to have fun, something that just feels good. And across generations, they've passed on this little tradition of pleasure and the whereabouts of these pebble beaches. It's their secret. And we're peeking into the place in their world where they can escape the labors of daily survival for an occasional hour of amusement.
As the others watch from offshore, Okisola returns for one last rub. Perhaps inspired by his uncle, little Midsummer finally descends for his first pass over the pebbles, rubbing and blowing bubbles at the same time.
Watching their last pass across the stones, I'm reminded yet again that we can't really comprehend the minds of creatures who dwell in a liquid world, so different from our own. And yet we share with them the concerns of parenthood and the devotion to family, and maybe also a need for sheer fun. At least that's what I would like to believe. It is one thing to observe anonymous animals in the wild, quite another to know them by name, to know their ways of relaxing, to know even their family tragedies. As they leave, they no longer seem to us strangers in an alien realm, but a family heading home from the diversions of a summer afternoon.